Okay, so this is the implementation for the tails so far. Now, this is running in a lower resolution than it will be for the final implementation, I'm running this on my personal laptop. And as well as that, it's not hooked up to VR, so you won't be able to see the rig, but I'll move around the model just so you can get an idea of what the animation looks like as the model moves. Basically, it's implemented as my best interpretation of the method described in the Pixar paper. And from this gives us a list of parameters that we're able to mess around with to change the animation. So you'll see here, like if I move this to 10, now this goes quite slow. So if we'll up the frequency, a lot of these parameters need to sort of be messed around with together to get the desired effect. Just one of the things here you'll see is delay. So because of the fact that the solutions for the equations have a imaginary component as well as a real component, we're using one of the equations described in the paper to basically control the phase shift of it. Now, this phase shift it's just one that's sort of propagated throughout the tail, and because of that, if the frequency and the delay, if they're set certain ways, sometimes the animation can look rigid or incorrect. But like if we set it to 25 here, and if we up this frequency to like 6, maybe we'll get it. No, that looks fine. But maybe if we up the amplitude, you see the animation can look a little bit awkward. But depending on messing around with the parameters, you can sort of get that desired effect. So if we pop that there, you can get closer to what you might want with that sort of wiggly spline overlapping wave effect, and you're able to mess around with it. So if I get a graph editor up to mess with that should be easier to play around with. Now beyond that, I mean, there is still stuff for the damping, spring constant, and mass. So this is because we want the animation to interact with the player. We do have some other parameters that aren't quite dialed in yet, but you'll see here if I move around, the effect we'll have on the tail is it's a little bit wiggly there, but it just means that as the player moves, it will react to the player's animation and incorporate that to the base animation that's running, hopefully to give a better embodiment experience. But yeah, so it will sort of flick back and forth there. And this is just set with putting constraints on the tail, so it can only move within certain degrees of freedom, and then it's similar to a kinetic simulation. That's sort of what I was following when I was trying to build out this implementation. But using these two together, I think it could give a decent feel when the player is embodied. And again, messing around with these parameters, depending on what movement we want, will change sort of what we want to get out of this. But yeah, so this is where we are so far. You'll see, like, if we put this up, these mad angles, you can get quite interesting movement. But yeah, again, it just comes down to playing around with the parameters to get the desired feel, and then once the character's moving, does it feel comfortable, does it feel awkward, and we can play around with these. But yeah.